Hey, girlfriends, happy Saturday. It's Breia here, continuing with our organized October theme of the month, just all about clearing that physical, mental, and emotional, spiritual clutter that we have going on as women. This week, I'm joined by a very, very special guest. I have Eimear Zone here with me. Say hi,
Hi,
Eimear.
Hi, everybody. Lovely to be here.
Eimear is an author and an entrepreneur, and she's also like a women empowerment advocate for girls and women all over the world. And I thought she'd be a great guest to have on this month. She owns a company called Pebble and Rose, and I'm going to post the link to her website shortly. But I just wanted to ask you briefly what made you really start with your advocacy for girls and women in the world?
I think it's always been there for me, sort of in the back of my mind. I think when I was in university, even, I wanted to do a master's in what was called at the time women's studies. And my
Mhm.
father, he was a human resources director for the post office in Ireland, where I'm from, and he was sort of horrified, thinking that that was going to be career, suicide to have something like women's studies on your resume. And I was like, so I kind of did something much more business oriented, but it was always there for a
Mhm.
long time. And so I came back to it about 4 or 5 years ago, and I did an online course with Stanford University that you can do for free.
Oh,
And it was
awesome.
all about women's human rights around the world. And it was run by a woman who is one of the founders of the Global Fund for Women, which is one of the largest charities in the world. So that was the renewed spark. But I think it was always there. And I think as I got older, and I'm a mom to a 10-year-old girl, I was
Mhm.
like, I don't think I can just leave it to everybody else and hope that it'll turn out okay. So I decided to get off the bench, so to speak, and get in the game.
That is wonderful. And I know you just mentioned briefly the Global Fund for Women, and that's a charity that you chose to support as part of your business, which helps. They offer kind of resources and opportunities to girls and women all over the world. So I think that's wonderful. I was looking for something similar because my company, the Girlfriend Gatherings, I was looking for a charity that I kind of wanted to partner with, and I kind of found Women for Women International, which
Oh, I know
does,
them. Yeah,
yes, similar
very,
work.
very good choice. Very good choice. I'm a big fan of them too. Yeah.
Yeah, so I love that they do have these charities that do go around the world and work to support girls and women being independent and getting education and providing them resources. So I think it's wonderful, wonderful work that you do. I got a chance to look over the Pebble and Rose website, and guys, I'm going to post that in there for you. But it's lots of beautiful, like t-shirts and accessories, and they're all like women themed, like empowerment themed. And I thought that was wonderful. I think I heard you say in your video you're going to add candles as well.
Yeah, I'm working on that, and I was hoping to launch before Christmas. I'm getting a little bit close to the wire there. I think I love candles. I think it's a
I
beautiful
do too.
gift, and I love to give them, and I love to receive them. So I'm hopeful that I'll be able to do that before the Christmas season really kicks off.
What made you decide on the t-shirts and accessories that you chose? Were they like from women or
I
made
think
by women?
I've always, from the T-shirt point of view, I've always liked a good slogan T-shirt, and
Yeah.
I'm a runner myself. And do you know what? Years ago, I was living in the UK, and I was out on a run, and I know if there are any runners probably in your audience, and they will feel this, or they will recognize this feeling. You're out in the run, and you think, oh my God, I can't do it. I'm so tired. Oh my God, is it only a mile? Oh my God, oh my God. And then, so I was having one of those, and I just ended up like pretty much on my knees on the side of the road going, I can't do it. I give up and, throwing a bit of a toddler tantrum. And then I realized, well, I was 5 miles from home. So, you know, I had to get home. So I had to run it. And on that run on the way home, I got myself home by telling myself in my head who I was. Who do I have to believe I am for me to be able to make this journey and to get to the finish line? And those words that I used were all about, fearless and, that I was fierce and that I was resilient and I was strong and I was a warrior. And God damn it, I could do it. And I just took one foot in front of the other. And that's true in any sort of challenge that you had. But I think for me, that run was, I decided I was going to make myself unbreakable.
Wow, that's really powerful. And it's funny because all those words that you use to affirm yourself, to really push yourself, they're not words a lot of us get to grow up hearing as it relates to
Oh.
us. So that is very powerful and wonderful. I also noticed you wrote a blog, and it was Why October is the New January, 5 Ways to Jumpstart Change. And because this is our organized October month, I
Yeah.
just wanted you to talk a little bit about your blog there.
Well, I don't know about anybody else, but I hate January 1st and that pressure.
Yes.
Um, your whole life must change in this moment. And let's face it, January 1st comes, and I don't think I'm unique in this, but you've probably overspent, you've
Mm-hmm.
overindulged, and you've gone lax on your exercise. And so you're in a probably a little bit guilt ridden. And so that's why we have all those membership sign-ups for the gym. And oh
Yes.
my God, I'm giving up smoking. Not many people smoke, but I remember when I was a smoker years ago, it was always like midnight on New Year's Eve that you're putting out that cigarette going, I'm never going to smoke again, or I'm never going to drink again, and it's just not the best place to be making
Mm-hmm.
those sorts of decisions. So I think October,
Mm-hmm.
looking into the last quarter of the year, is a really powerful time of the year to think about, where do I want to be? What do I want to do? How am I going to get there? And I think when we talk about organized October, I think your outside life is a reflection of what's going on inside.
Yes.
So if you're surrounded by chaos, you could dedicate an awful lot of time to tidying up your physical environment. But I don't think that that will really stick
So
unless you take a really good look inside and ask yourself some hard questions. What's important to me? What makes me anxious? What am I not looking at? What's keeping me awake at night? What do I really want to achieve? Um, and when you really look and ask those hard questions, I think they will reveal to you how you should really be spending your time and effort. And
mm-hmm.
if you tackle the big stuff and you direct your time and you plan your time to address those, the chances that you have of, I think, that organization or that feeling of calm, which is what you're looking for when you talk about getting organized and having order in your life.
Right.
I mean, it's not like, I mean, I like order. I like clear surfaces and I like all of that. But if I don't have what's going, if I'm not able to sleep at night, or I'm waking up and saying I haven't got my finances in order, or
Mm-hmm.
I'm not looking after my physical self, and I kind of go la 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 la, I'll just get myself busy, or clearing out my closet or something.
Right.
I'm just going to be in this cyclical loop of always coming back to this. And lots of people, I think, distract themselves in life with busy and
Yes.
mistake it for being productive and effective, and definitely mistake it for living, a purposeful life that will really make them feel fulfilled and make them feel happy, which
And
is
it's more
ultimately,
avoidance. Yeah.
yeah, it's like when somebody's like very organized, like I have some very good friends, and oh my God, they're so organized. And you go into their house and there's an awful lot of time spent cleaning, and there's lots of charts, and it's very inspiring in some way. But you're kind of going, what are you not looking at? What are you? And I know that there's stuff going on, and if you keep yourself very busy, sometimes it's because you're not looking at something. You're trying to avoid something, as you said. And
Avoid dealing. For me myself, is very true that I notice when clutter starts to get around my space, my physical space. Usually it's a sign of something mental going on. I'm either stressing about something or, something to that effect. So you just kind of have to know who you are and know what your patterns are. And for me, I really have to take a look at, okay, what is it that I'm think not trying to that I'm overthinking or that I haven't let go of yet. And
Yeah.
that for me, I kind of have to start there because even if I clear the space a week or so later, the clutter starts to creep back again. Because for me personally, it's just a reflection of what's going on in my head.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and some other people, like you said, are the opposite. Everything is clean to perfection, but they do that so they can avoid dealing with their inner feelings. So, yeah, you just have to know who you are and what your patterns are and kind of understand the paradigms that, run for you.
And then understanding that you're worth doing that work. I mean, it takes work, doesn't it, to
Oh,
really
yeah.
know yourself and not be avoiding some of the stuff that you don't want to look at, and you might not be very happy about yourself, but it just amplifies and it sort of gains more power over you. I
Hmm.
think if you don't look at it, and when you do look at some of these things, um, I think they're not as scary as you think they are. Like
Right.
any big thing that you're probably avoiding, I know in my life I've done that. In the past, I've been, particularly when I was younger, um, and didn't have so many responsibilities, I would like not be looking at my credit card bill. I'd be like,
Mm.
ah, da da, earning enough, blah, 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 blah. And completely, having to call up the bank going, oh, I just haven't done my expenses for 4 months, but, I actually do have money. Um, and not kind of, and when I did sit down and decide, okay, this is causing me stress and I'm having to call the bank and, explain myself, and I'm just aware that I'm not doing my expenses. And I sat down and actually did it. It wasn't as huge as I
As
had made it
bad as
out
you
to
think.
be. As
Hmm.
soon as you look at the issue that's causing you this fear,
Angst. Yeah.
yeah, and anxiety, and you bring it out and you kind of go, okay, you're not so big, you're not so bad, and I'm completely capable of dealing with this. I've just been so busy avoiding it. I've
Hmm.
spent so much time avoiding it. I've spent much more time avoiding it than it would take to actually sort it out. And then the feeling when you actually do sort it out and that you're on top of it is like, yeah,
I'm powerful. Yeah.
yeah. It's
I've had
like,
the same issue in the past with finances. I never really looked at them or dealt with them. I just recently started forcing myself because I think I had an old pattern playing in my head. I hadn't even realized that I'm not good with money
yeah.
or and all that self-worth stuff that comes up with stuff to different topics or things that we might be insecure about, but they're never going to change until we bring them to the surface and look at them because it can't heal if it's hiding. So
Oh,
all of
yeah.
those things that you bury or that you
I
avoid,
love that. It can't heal if you
if
can't
it's
heal it if it's
hiding,
hiding. Like,
yes, you have to bring it all up to the surface and face it so that you can overcome it.
yeah.
So yeah, that one was for me, the finances thing, because I always thought, oh, I'm not good with money, I'll never have enough, and that was all issues tied to my self-worth, and I hadn't even realized how much. And like I would start a budget, but then I wouldn't um, be adamant about following it every day or putting all my information in. Is I was just like, I don't want to deal with it, I don't want to look at it. But like you said, you can't change those situations unless you're willing to bring them up and face them.
Yeah, I think it's like exactly what you said. It's that story that you're telling yourself. And
Hmm.
then those stories are obviously um, very common around money, and the
Hmm.
limiting beliefs that we have, those little say, I'm not, it's very much the I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough with money. I have a
Yes.
scarcity story about money, or
Yes.
I can't understand that, or I'll never be fit, and those are
Hmm.
the easiest stories to tell yourself,
Right.
because you get a big opt out of being a grown up. Then it's like, well, I no, I just can't, or I'm not good with numbers.
Yep.
And let's, you don't have to be able to, you don't have to understand algebra. Or you don't have to go back to high school and remember what was that geometry stuff about? What was the point of all? It's pretty much percentages in an Excel spreadsheet. It
Yep.
doesn't take
It does all the work for you. You just got
a
to plug
graduate. It really is, isn't it? It's like plug the numbers in,
Mhm.
more or less, and making those decisions about what you need and what you're worth. And so, yeah, can't hide from it. I mean,
Not
you
if you
can't
want to
feel it.
get past it and overcome it. Yeah. So
Definitely.
I also wanted to talk about your book, and I wanted to make sure we had enough time. So she's releasing a book on October 30th, correct? And it's called The Little Book of Good Enough. Quiet
Woohoo!
your inner critic, ditch the doubt, and own your worth. Oh, that's beautiful. She
I
has a,
just got it in the mail. This is my like proof copy, so I'm so proud.
oh, that is wonderful. I
So it's
can't
up.
wait to read it.
You're gonna get an early link, Bria. It's gonna go out to the early people like you next week, 2 weeks before release date. So I'm
Awesome.
excited.
Thank you guys so much. I'm going to post the link to her website if you guys want to pre order the book, and it'll give you information about the book. But can we talk about the book too? It's a little book of
Yeah.
good enough. What made you want to write a book on this particular subject?
Selfishly for me,
Hmm.
I think I really think that women need to take up more space in the world.
Yeah.
And I think that for me was a big part of me doing Pebble and Rose. That was about women in the world and how small of a space they're allowed to take up in some countries and how I wanted them to have more. And then I thought, well, here in the West, we have our own issues. Why do I see so many talented, brilliant women who are doubting themselves and saying, oh, I can't do that? That's only for people who are infinitely more fabulous than I am and much more talented, and I couldn't possibly. And they find it so hard to believe that, they too can do much more than they're doing. So for me, it was about quieting that inner critic myself. It was
Hmm.
acknowledging that there's an inner narrative going on in my head that says, you can't do that. Stop. Don't go any
Hmm.
further. No, no, no. What if you're ridiculed? What if you fall on your face? What if you're not good enough? Um,
Yes.
and I think a couple of years ago, had a very big health scare. And I really came face to face with my mortality. And I thought, are you doing enough?
Mm.
Why? What if this were, what if you only had this much time? Why are you waiting for permission? And I think too many of us think like dumb stuff, like, I'll be happy when I'm thin,
Yeah.
or I'll allow myself these things when I've accomplished other things.
Hmm.
And I just believe the time is now. The time
Yes.
is absolutely now. And I love to read. I love psychology. I love behavioral sciences, social psychology. And I read an awful lot. Um, and I wanted to produce, the reason it's the little book is it's thin.
Hmm.
I want somebody to be able to read it who's struggling the same way that I have struggled and so many have struggled, and to go through it and say, really, to go from dare I to hell yeah. Yeah, I am
Yes.
prepared to step out of the shadows. I am prepared to give it a go. I'm not prepared to lead my life and hide and stay small and be afraid to show my talents in case it isn't good enough. I'm prepared to try. I'm prepared to fail. And I'm prepared to keep moving the boundaries of my comfort zone. So it's about looking inward. And first of all, it's laid out in a way that's very actionable. So I take the reader through a number of steps where they will have to look a little bit about how they're treating themselves, how they're speaking to themselves,
Hmm.
what they really want, what they believe about themselves, and what will have to change for them to be able to move forward. And it's gently taking them there in a humor, in a humor-filled way, in a asking them to say, stop treating yourself like the enemy. You are not the enemy. You need to absolutely fall in love with yourself. You need to be your very best friend. Why wouldn't
Hmm.
you have your back? We're so eager to champion somebody else, maybe our friend. And then when it comes to us, say, oh, well, I
Yep.
can't, but yay, go you. And I want to say, no, no, no,
Hmm.
no. We can all be doing this for each other and for ourselves. And I
Yes.
think community is very important for that. I love seeing, um, women supporting other women. And I just wanted, this was my way, this book is my way of supporting other women and saying, please come forward.
Hmm.
Please don't live your life thinking that
In
it's
the
you have to wait
shadows.
to be anointed before that you can step forward, and start before you're ready.
Yeah.
Start before you're ready and learn, and don't be afraid of, like, you don't give so much power to somebody else's opinion of you.
Hmm.
Like, I used to be so afraid of, oh my God, what will somebody else think of
What
me? And
will
I
they
call it in
think?
the book, like, for what? Like, for what? All this, like, fear of what others think. This
Hmm.
FOWOT. For what? Really? Most people aren't thinking about you at all.
Right.
They've got their phone and they're going, and they're worried about what everybody else will think of them. So they're not watching.
Exactly.
Don't act like everybody's waiting to bring you down. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're kind of going, waiting for you to step up and to say, how can I help?
Hmm.
And I think people are and the people who are going to say, ooh, who does she think she is? Or that's not very good. They're not your people. They're just
And,
not your people.
and that's okay.
Yeah, there's billions of
That's
people in
okay.
the world. You'll find your people as soon as you come out of the shadows and you start speaking up and making your contribution, and it'll be like a ripple effect, and you will meet more people, and they will say, how about you talk to so and so? Or I think this person might have something you're interested in, or you might really benefit from this resource. A little bit of magic starts to happen. And I want that for other women. A little bit of
Oh,
magic.
that's wonderful. I know I became very aware of my inner critic a couple years ago. And I was like, wow, if anybody in my life talked to me the way I talk to myself, I wouldn't have it at all.
No.
So I shouldn't even allow it for myself. And that really put me on a path of like trying to do affirmations and
Yeah.
just all of those things to kind of change the programming that I was just allowing to run. But it's so true. We use that, like, even when I was like kind of relaunching my company virtually and I was starting to do these video interviews, those things came up. Well, you've gained a lot of weight. Do you really want to be on video now? You stopped wearing your retainer and your teeth have shifted back. Do you really want to be on video? Just all of these little things.
Nonsense, isn't it?
It
Absolute
is. It
nonsense.
really, really is. And I think too, it's great to teach what we most need to learn, and great to pursue what we're passionate about, or things that we most need to do for ourselves. So even like for the girlfriend gatherings, I kind of have evolved that to where before I had a different purpose with it. Now, like, my purpose is to help women recognize their own power. And that's because I always struggled with recognizing my own power. I still struggle from time to time, but kind of just being very open and honest about that and transparent has allowed me to connect with so many other wonderful women, and we get to all kind of recognize our power together. So I love the idea of this book. I can't wait to read it. I think it will be so powerful for lots of women everywhere.
Well, we're all on the same journey, at
We
different
are.
stages of it. And it's not, you know, I've always been somebody who's preferred the journey to the destination. I like
Hmm.
the journey, and you just have to honor the journey. And when you spoke about how you speak to yourself, like, what would I do if a friend spoke to me like that? Well, they wouldn't be a friend for very long, first of all.
Exactly.
But I came across something very interesting when I was doing some research recently, and it was about that positive self talk. And there has been some research done. I don't know whether you've heard of this, Breia, about he's a Japanese professor. I think his surname is Emato, but I'd have to check. And he did this work on what happens to water
Yes.
molecules. Did you see that?
Yes. I saw something on YouTube about him a few years ago.
and that we're made up of about 70% water, and how
Mm-hmm.
you water changes, the molecules change and they form these beautiful, beautiful shapes when they're spoken to in a loving, positive way. And
Mm-hmm.
they go exactly the opposite when you say horrible, hurtful, and damaging and belittling things. So I just am quite happy to believe that there's something in that. You speak to yourself in a loving, caring way, and that you acknowledge um, your power and your beauty, and you love yourself. That is going to emanate from you, and
Mm-hmm.
going to just invite positivity back into your life.
Absolutely. Well, Emira, thank you so much for joining me today. I did notice on the website you have some free downloads if they want to go ahead and sign up. They
Yeah,
get
I
some.
did. I did some worksheets for the to accompany the book, just to make it easier for people to do the work if they don't want to write in the book or whatever. And I'm
Mhm.
going to be recording a visualization as well, which is part of the book as well. When you're kind of visualizing this more empowering beliefs when you're leaving behind your limiting beliefs. So I just wanted to add that as well, and they'll be available as soon as the book is available. But you can sign up now through the website, and you will receive them.
Okay, guys, I got the link right in the thing. It's Emir, EIMAR
EAR, yeah.
ZZONE.com. Was there anything else you wanted to say before we ended today?
No, just thank you so much for having me. It's been lovely chatting this morning, and I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for doing this. I'm sure this interview will help a lot of women, and I hope that a lot of women get your book and are able to benefit from it. I can't wait to get my copy. It sounds like exactly the kind of thing that I love to read. So
Thanks so much.
thanks a lot. Bye, guys. We'll see you again next Saturday. Thanks for joining.
Bye.